Okay, so we fulfilled a mission. That mission was to get 85% of our army force limit, and that gave us permanent claims on some of our neighbors over here. So we're still fabricating on some of our other neighbors, but in the meantime, some of our Sunni neighbors over here, we have permanent claims on now, so we can actually declare war on them. They are only allied to each other, which is very nice. Unfortunately, we do have a truce with one of them, which means we can't co-belligerent him. And what that means is we can't. It'll be twice as expensive for us to take anything from him in this war, unfortunately. But that's okay. We're still going to be able to eat up Kandar, who we have no truce with, and possibly take a territory from Karaman, like Isel, where he will have no coastal provinces, and we can kind of start isolating him since we're going to be working for vassalizing Ramazan. Anyways, we're just waiting for our diplomat to get back, and now we're going to declare war. So we have a general we hired. It's a siege general here, which is going to be perfect for this region. We have our troops in place right next to their troops, which is exactly what we want. We want to be able to fight them right away before they could group together or hire more troops like mercenaries. So we're going to immediately attack both of them. Now, both of these guys, he's not going to get any defensive bonuses in Sinop unless he has a river crossing, does he? Kangari, yes. So he'll have a -1 toward us unless he doesn't hire a general. If he hires a general that has equal maneuver to us, we'll get a -1 river crossing. If our general has better maneuver, maneuver can cancel any crossing negatives that you can get in combat. So we're going to be covering combat here real quick for this segment and just kind of talking about it. All right, so let's go ahead and declare war. And then we're going to go over the different numbers and all that fun stuff of what's going on with these combat numbers. Can't co-belligerent, and that sucks, but that's fine. We'll still go for it. So here we go. So war has started. Everything turned red for all of their stuff. He hasn't joined yet. He'll need a month to do so. Or not a month, but a day. There we go. So now he's joined. So we're getting a cross swords here, which shows there's going to be a battle. We're not getting one here because he's going to move out of this territory before we can arrive. So we're actually going to wait, and what we're waiting on is we're going to see a little lock up here. What that lock is as soon as a army is at least halfway to a province, they're locked in. They can't stop and go back. They can't change directions. They're locked into that province, and they have to go into it, which can be huge in wars. It's how you can win battles, etc. So that's what we're going to wait, is for him to lock in, and then we're going to move on to Kanya. Is that where he's going? Yep, Kanya. See, it shows right there. So we're going to move into there as soon as he's locked in. That way we can try to guarantee a battle with him, so we can try to wipe out the troops. So we're just going to keep on pausing and unpausing. So we got that locked in, guaranteed. We know we're going to beat him. There's the lock, see? So we cannot stop. Can't give our guy new directions. He's locked into there. He's not locked in yet. 14 August, so he'll lock in pretty soon here. There we go. Now he's locked in. Boom. We got the swords, showing there will be a battle. That's what we want. Even though we're going to get a negative from the terrain, that's okay. We outnumber him heavily. Does he have a general? He does, but his general does not have more maneuver than ours. There we go. So here's a battle. This is what the battles look like. So you notice we don't have any negative. We'd normally have a negative from a river crossing, but since our general had one better maneuver than his, it canceled out that negative. So instead, it's just based on the terrain we're fighting on, which grassland. There's no negatives, so everything's dice rolls and our general's stats. He's getting better rolls, but we heavily outnumber him. And so this shows this is our line of troops here fighting versus his line of troops. This is where unit composition can be important. You want to have at least 2 cavalry for your armies in the early game, because cavalry get a flanking bonus against enemy armies. But you don't want to have too many cavalry because they're far more expensive than infantry. And outside the flanking bonus or flanking defense, they don't really matter. And that's a good idea, is to slow down the speed, Mr. Sir. And so what's happening here is there are 2 different things that are going to go on in this battle. There's going to be a fire phase and a shock phase. Now, shock is more important in the early game because your armies, and this is where you can see the stats, have overall more shock modifiers than they have fire modifiers. So we have 1.5 for our shock modifiers, and we only have 0.35 for our fire modifiers. So shock in the early game is far, far more important until you hit Tech 16. Military Tech 16 is when fire becomes king. Anyways, so that's where cavalry and shock generals come into play, which is why this general was such a good starter one, because he has 3 shock. He also has that extra maneuver, which caused us to not get a negative here for all of our dice rolls. So instead, we're rolling the dice and then adding our general's stats to the combat. So they are outrolling us, but we have way better troops in terms of just how our troop quality is. Plus, we have way more troops than they do. So we're going to end up obliterating them. And yes, Mr. Play, that's actually a good thing. Since we're covering combat, this is where we'll go into more detail with forts. We covered forts a little bit earlier when we were talking about what forts we were deleting and why. Forts themselves can also affect these negatives. Since he has a fort here, even if I was here first and then he walked in, since I came from Kangiri, if he comes back in here with a general that has better maneuver than I have, then I'll actually get a -1 if he attacks me here on Sinop, even though the terrain doesn't give me any negatives. And that's because he has a fort here, so he automatically becomes the defender. Now, I hate forts on grasslands because it doesn't give any negatives, aside from river crossings, which can be beaten with maneuver. Forts should almost always be placed on anywhere that gives at least -1. If you can get it built on a mountain, -2. Mountains are the absolute best locations for forts, so long as they can block a large area from armies being able to march through there. In this region right here, your actual best place for a fort is going to be right here at Marash, because this mountain helps to kind of force everyone into here. So this actually covers Sivas. Even though it's not a mountain, it's still -1 for highlands, and it blocks Sivas and blocks Adana. So you, as the Ottomans, all you need to do is put 1 fort here while you own these lands, and you've blocked all access through this area. They have to attack at that fort. And forcing your enemies to attack onto forts to give those negative dice rolls is 100% what you want to do for your national defense. Fort placement can actually 100% affect how wars go. Mr. Play, thank you for following. Now, with that said, since there is this spot to go through up here, you also want to get Trebizond, because notice, Trebizond is mountains and completely blocks this pathway through here. So if you put a fort right there and on Trebizond, you're perfectly covered for your entire eastern border. So that's how you want to look at forts. Like I said, also, I might eventually, if I don't heavily expand up into here, I'll probably eventually put a fort right here. And that will then control all of my access for my crossing. Essentially, with the Ottomans in the early game, 3 forts can 100% protect almost your entire empire. As I expand, I'll eventually try to expand probably into the mountains and hills up in these areas to try to put forts like in Hum. From there, I'd probably put a fort. Yeah, I'd probably put another fort here since it's hills, if I'm just expanding up into this region. And then one last fort, yeah, right here in Hunyad. Keralifold is nice because it's a mountain, but it would leave an opening between this fort and this fort because people can then walk through Thames. So instead, I'll put a fort here, which blocks there, blocks here, this fort blocks here and here, this fort blocks here, here. So then my whole border is blocked right there from forts. Forts behind rivers are also good. If my border stops here and I don't actually push up into Moldavia, yeah, he's part of, he might join Poland here. If I can't push up into Moldavia, I'll probably end up with just a fort right here, because then it's behind a river at least. And that has a chance to give a -1. Anyways, so let's go ahead and watch this. So this is the battle that's going on now that we've kind of gave a quick overview of forts. All the stats are the same. There's discipline, there's morale, there's military tactics. Tactics is your defense. Discipline's offense and defense. It affects both. Morale, of course, is how long your soldiers will fight. Every time a unit runs out of soldiers, your army takes a morale shock, which is why the fact that I'm so much bigger than him really matters. He's going to run out of soldiers quicker than I am. So he's going to take huge morale shocks, which is essentially what this health bar looking thing is. So let's see if we can get a tick. There we go. So equal troops. Equal troops loss, since I'm so much bigger, have so many more troops, really favors me. An equal loss, because that he's going to run out of troops quicker than I am. And so that's why that's not a bad thing whatsoever. So let's go. Oh, look at that tick. I rolled a 9, so he has an extra shock pit because he has a 4 shock general. So he has 1 extra shock over me for all his rolls. But since I have a 9 versus his 4 total, he took a huge shock hit, which hits his morale hard, hit his troops hard. I lost 200 some odd troops versus his 700. Not boding well since I got a good roll. Have they caught up yet? Nope, but they are going to. He's not going to get away. You see, he's going to leave on the 26th, but I'm going to arrive on the 24th, meaning he doesn't get away. So let's keep watching this battle. Another big freaking shock hit because I kept that 9 roll. Ugh. There's just not much that he can do right now. He's probably going to get stack wiped because, oh yeah, look at that. So since I killed him within, I think it's 6 days is the limit. If you wipe out another army's morale within a certain amount of time, you automatically stack wipe that army. And that's what I just did with him. I killed every single troop he had in that army. And he only killed 1,100 or 1,200 of mine. That's a huge hit. His fleet fought some of my fleet, but I had more ships, so I was okay. And in fact, that actually reminds me, I'm going to bring my fleet over here because I have more overall ships than he has and better and more combat ships than he has. So my fleet's going to come here and start helping with the siege, which is the next part of this. So now I'm sieging it. So every single month there is a chance for this tick here to change. And you can see what the different changes, the chances are right here. And that'll slowly go down to 0 and then start going into the positive. As long as it's negative, I have no chance of winning the siege here. But once it goes past 0 into the positive, I have a small chance to start winning the siege that'll slowly tick up all the way to 99%. Normally, you'll see sieges won when it's around 30 to 40% chance to win. So I just need to sit here and let the siege happen. In sieges, cavalry are pretty much worthless, plus you don't want to take extra losses. So what I'm doing is I'm consolidating my hurt regiments by holding shift and clicking that. I'm consolidating them into full strength regiments so I don't take morale shocks if battles happen. And I'm going to split my army. The reason I'm splitting my army is this is a fort level 3. So you need 3 troops, 3,000 troops for every 1 level of fort. So I need 9,000 troops total in order to siege this fort. Now, my troops take attrition damage every single turn. So what you need to do is leave 1 extra stack of troops with it, so 10,000 total troops, to make sure you always have above the 9,000 threshold, even as you take attrition damage, to keep sieging the fort. So I'm going to take away everything but 10, so I'm not taking extra attrition damage on these troops. And with these troops, I'm actually going to send them right here to siege this province real quick because it has no fort, so I can automatically take it. And that way, you see that little animation, that shows he's building troops there. So I'm going to deny him building new troops. Plus, I'm going to get this occupied. And this is also my war goal. And your war goal gives you a lot of war score. War score is what's going to determine what you can demand currently from the war. So this battle right here is about to happen. This is pretty much a foregone conclusion. I'm bringing over my fleet, and if you see right here, my progress modifier is -2. You don't want negatives if you can help it. Progress modifier is because it's not blockaded. Since my fleet's coming over, we're going to get rid of that. Now we got our next battle going on here, and we'll see if we can wipe him out. There we go. Look at that. 50 versus 260. Even with -1s, because we're rolling 7s versus him rolling 0s. And that's a pretty big deal. 0s aren't something you see very often with the AI. So we are definitely... Oh, and look at this. We have 5% more discipline because of our traditions versus what he has. Discipline's huge. That means that our troops are performing that much better than his troops. Discipline is pretty darn huge. That's probably the easiest way to really look at discipline is whatever percent of discipline you have over your opponent, your troops are going to perform that much better, that percentage amount better. And 5% might not seem like a lot, but it can make a huge difference. Okay, so see there? We took a few more losses than he did, but since we have so many more troops, that's okay. So see, well, we did better there than he did, but the other times we were doing worse. But once again, we have so many troops, it doesn't matter. There we go. Another stack wipe. We had so many troops to overwhelm him, there was just nothing he can do. The other way you can get a stack wipe, guys, you can get an automatic stack wipe in this game. You don't even have to actually fight. If you have 10 times as many troops as they have, it is an automatic stack wipe. So if he only had, if he had 1,000 troops here with my, and I have 10,000 attacking, automatically kills that stack of troops. If he has 10,000 troops and I have 100,000, automatic troop stack wipe. Important to note. Okay, so we're going to consolidate these guys again together to make sure they're as full health as possible. And we are going to split these. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this stack to try to siege as many of these provinces down as possible, as quickly as possible, so he can't build any reinforcement troops. So what we're going to do is we're going to send 3 over here. Just send that. Probably one of the cavalry right here. And then from there, we're going to split off the rest of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave them here. So these are going to stay here. This other one with our siege general is going to go onto this capital. Because remember, you need 3,000 troops for every 1 fort level, and then 1 extra troop on top for any attrition losses. So we need 4,000 troops to siege this capital. So we're going to start doing that right now. That way we can get it done as quickly as possible. So now we're going to speed it back up because we've shown the combat, etc. So we have no reason to keep it slow. And see, he's building troops here now. Okay, so we've got this occupied. We're actually going to be bringing these guys down to hang out around here, also to take care of his extra troop over there. In fact, we probably will end up catching him with this stack. Ooh, Ramazan wants a royal marriage. So we're going to do that because it gives us a chance at an heir, which we just got, but also because Ramazan, we want to get them to like us so that we can vassalize them. So actually, I need to do that. I'm going to start improving relations because you have to get a nation to 190 relations. Even if they have the positive for vassalization, they have to like you by 190 relations for you to ask them to vassalize. So let's do that. Okay, so we got done there. We're going to send him down to intercept. We have no risk of losing here, so we're not worried at all. Okay, he's done there. We're going to send these guys down as well because we want to kind of surround this with troops if we can. So notice he's not bothering to reinforce. He already knows that's a lost cause. Reinforcement wouldn't matter. Okay, he's done there. Good. Okay, so we're just waiting on our sieges now, and then once this siege is over, we'll send enough troops down here to siege this. In fact, what we'll probably do real quick is we're going to send these troops in to wipe that out, and then leave 1 stack of troops here just to stop him from building any new troops. Okay, and you want your troops as consolidated as possible. Don't forget to hold shift when you're doing this, otherwise you'll delete any empty troops, because they perform better in combat the more full their regiments are. So you always want them to be the regiments as full as possible when you're going into combat. And you see up here, we're at 7%, here we're at 0%, so our sieges are progressing. Mr. Play, every 1 level of fort is 3,000 army. And then after that, after you do 3,000 for each level, add 1,000 more to make sure attrition losses don't make you go under that threshold. So no, you don't want to leave just a 3K army on this fort, because if you go anywhere below 3,000 soldiers, your siege automatically stops. I mean, you don't lose any progress, but you won't make any progress until you're back up to 3,000. And since you constantly take attrition losses, you'll be nonstop under 3,000. Whereas if you have 4,000 troops, you'll constantly be under 4,000, but above 3,000 to keep the siege going. Same thing for one of these forts. If you have 10,000 troops, you're constantly above the 9,000 threshold needed. You always want to have one more troop than you need for the ×3 fort level. And that's only if they don't have extra increased garrison sizes. There are other modifiers. That's the best rule of thumb, is 3 times the fort level plus 1. But there are other modifiers that can change that, which you come across, like increased garrison sizes and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to leave 2 troops here in case he somehow gets one built. And then these guys are going to go away so we don't take attrition losses. So this shows that siege is not progressing. That's what that means. But that's fine. We don't want it progressing. Ooh. Oh, he declared war on Karaman. Oh, shit. Okay. I don't know if we'll be able to... I don't know if we'll be able to vassalize him if he takes any of Karaman's stuff. Huh. What we'll probably do with Karaman is, I'm guessing we'll take Isel and possibly Kayseri to make sure that none of his, nobody that's bordering him can take him, because then we have him essentially surrounded, aside from Ramazan, of course. Just waiting on these sieges to finish. And see, we just dropped down below 4K there because we took some attrition damage. But our siege keeps on progressing because we had the extra troops in place. And yeah, Mr. Play, don't worry. Keep in mind, anybody who feels bad if this was information they didn't know, even if they've played this game quite a bit, I'm approaching 6,000 hours. So a lot of the information I have is because I've played so long. So and that's why it just is natural to me. I do a lot of things without even realizing it. A lot of times people are asking, why'd you do that? Let's fabricate on Constantinople, since that was one of the things we were trying to do. We don't need a spy network there anymore. We're going to stop building it, because there's no point. We have the fabrication we wanted. We're going to do the same thing with Wallachia. With Wallachia, let's take a look. What's the most valuable province we can fabricate on? Looks like it is Buzau, and that also blocks access up here for anybody trying to attack down and eat them. So we're going to fabricate on Buzau. Oh, he's guaranteed by Hungary. Okay, so we might not be going to war with Wallachia anytime soon. All we need to do is make sure Hungary doesn't eat Wallachia, which if he's guaranteeing him, he's not going to eat him. So we have our claim. Hungary's guaranteeing him, so Wallachia is actually going to become a non-factor for us at the moment. Because the only reason why we were fabricating on Wallachia is because we were worried about Hungary eating him. But if he has a guarantee, he won't do it. Okay, come on, baby. Come on. There we go. So the siege of Sinop and Karaman at the same time. Okay, so the soldiers at Karaman we're going to actually send down here. Now this is a level 2 fort. So, remember, 3 times the fort level plus 1. So 3 times 2, 6, plus 1, 7. So we're having 6,000. We need one more soldier over here. One more full stack. And now we'll have 7,000 to finish that siege. Since we've finished over here with the siege, we can actually send our fleet also down here to help with the siege. And this stack we will probably just send right here to hang out. Okay, yeah, we won the battle up here because they fought us. That's fine. And actually, we'll probably have these guys heal real fast. You get in time? No. Alright, so we'll just have them move down here to heal. They can make it. Go there, just in case. There we go. Because they heal at the end of the month. Just like you get reinforcements at the end of the month as well from your manpower pool. Alright, so they healed there, so now we're going to send them out again. Alright, and you'll notice... Yeah, they have no war enthusiasm. We have 99% war score, so we can actually start looking at what we want to demand here. So we know, at the very least, we want probably his whole territory. Now, what else do we want down here, though? And what we're also looking for is, this is the aggressive expansion. So we're going to piss off, 292 countries are going to get aggressive expansion with us, ranging from 1 to 42. Your threshold for aggressive expansion is 50. At 50 or more aggressive expansion, other nations can coalition against you, kind of form a league. So what you're watching for is when others are going to coalition. There we go. And that shows you when others are going to coalition against you. So you'll notice there are 5 nations that will coalition. One of them won't exist. That's going to be Kandar. So there's only 4 left. But those 4 are going to be Dolkadir, AQ, Mamluks, and Karaman. Karaman will have a peace treaty, so he can't actually coalition until that peace treaty ends. So the only ones we're actually worried about, and this is so that you guys can learn this, is Dolkadir, AQ, Mamluks. Now, when it comes to coalitions, you want to avoid them if you can, but if you really can't or really don't want to, then what you need to worry about is, can this coalition kill me? So here's Dolkadir, AQ, and Mamluks. That is that is a little bit dangerous. Now, we have an alliance with Tunis, who is losing his war, so his alliance doesn't really matter. Though he'll probably end up winning it, hopefully. And we have alliance with Bohemia. So Bohemia would jump in if the coalition war is fired. So that's a lot of troops they'll bring in, which is equal to Dolkadir and AQ very easily, because he also has Silesia with him. So that is our ally right there. Tunis won't jump in at the moment, but if he can end his war, he'd probably jump in to help defend us. And of course, Ramazan would help defend us. So we're in pretty good shape when it would come to actually winning a war against these 3. Now, that's where you have to then pay attention to their allies, their vassals, stuff like that. Because Mamluks would bring in a few more troops because of their vassals and their ally. AQ could possibly bring in another troop. Dolkadir could not bring in anything because Ajam is, Ajam's getting destroyed by the Timurids. So, do you still want independence? You do, good, because we're guaranteeing independence for trans. So. Anyways, so we're not overly worried about even that coalition here, because even that coalition isn't a big threat to us. We know that we're equal to the Mamluks, no problem. And with our allies, we can beat anything they're going to throw at us. So we could safely take Karaman as well. Now, I'd like to get Isel if I can on top of that, but that's going to be already 99 war score just by taking Karaman. So most likely, what I'll look at doing is, if I take Karaman, that means the only place Ramazan can take is Isel. I'm okay with that. If Ramazan takes Isel, there's still a good chance that I'm going to be able to vassalize him. And that's what we're trying to do at the moment, is we are trying to get him as a vassal. So we'll see what happens. This will just allow us to end our war right now, which also allows us to start getting that aggressive expansion to drop, because it drops every year. So is there anything else we want? Not really. We'll take some money. $1, 1 ducat. So, and this is only by negotiating through him. I could get a little more by negotiating through Karaman, because I'm negotiating through just him, but you can also separately negotiate with other nations. And then I'd still stay at war with the leader. But I'm not really worried about separate negotiations, because I'll end up getting a larger coalition if I do that. So I'm not worried about it at all. What we're going to do is just leave it alone. Yeah, see, I can't vassalize him since I couldn't co-belligerent, and that's fine. We still have our claims on him, which is more than enough. And this will be 220 pieces. Why are we making so little right now? Oh, because of our focus, right? Okay, yeah. We'll definitely want to make more if we can, but okay. Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna take this. This is a very satisfactory result from this war. I don't think I have anything to complain about. That's definitely a good start towards securing our territories. So we'll go ahead and take it. We won't care about the coalition stuff, and we'll call it a day. So now we can also real quick cover aggressive expansion, which is another part of the game and another part of dealing with the fallout of these wars. Real quick, let's find a place to put troops. What I'm looking at is supply limit, where I'm going to put these troops, because I don't want them to be over the supply limit. We have 17,000 troops to collect together. Being over supply limit can be a bad thing. Okay, and then real quick, one of the things I do until absolutism pops up in the game is I always increase the autonomy under production and under the chains of the territories I just took, because otherwise they have a lot of unrest and they really want to rebel against me. So I'd rather not deal with rebellions. They're just not fun to deal with at all. So that's what I did, is I just increased the autonomy of those 4 territories I took. And then the next thing to do is to go into here where it says they lack cores. I want to core up these provinces based on the ones that, if you don't have enough admin to core them all, you always want to get the ones with the highest overextension versus the cost. You always want to be as efficient as possible. See, this right here only costs 30 for 8% versus 76 for 10%. That's more than twice as much for only 2% more overextension. This is far, far better to core up. I mean, I have enough to core all of them up, but if you have to make a consideration, do it like that. For these two, especially this one. Overextension is bad because if you get too much overextension, you notice it gives us a lot of negatives. If you get over 100% overextension, you will have rebellions until you can get it down below 100%. So you want to try to avoid getting 100% overextension if you can. Later in the game, you'll learn how to get over 100% and still be fine. But early on, try to avoid it if you can do so. So that's cored up. And then you want to make sure that you're checking for forts that you can get rid of. Synops on grassland. So once again, that's a fort that, goodbye, gone. And then, yeah, getting your troops out of enemy territory and coring up everything. So we've just gained a little bit of power, a little bit of dev. Also gained a trade node, which is really nice because that's a trade node for our main trade area. So that's a consideration, is, trade nodes and everything are a really good thing to get. So what we're going to cover now real quick is we're going to cover aggressive expansion. So there's a map mode you can find, which is called Coalition. It's a sword with 2 flags. So red and orange is bad. Nothing is good. Red and orange is bad. So here's orange. This shows us that we have quite a few people that have some negative opinion of us. Anything over 50 means that they can coalition against you, as long as they don't have a truce. So we do have 3 nations that can coalition against us right now. We also have some aggressive expansion up here, but you notice we have nothing over here. Nothing with the Christian nations. Because, like I said earlier in my earlier segment, they don't give a crap if I fight Sunni nations and eat Sunni nations. They only care if I attack Christian, and vice versa. So this is what makes one of the huge strengths of the Ottomans. I just pissed off the Sunni world. Now I can turn around and piss off the Christian world while I let the Sunni world calm down and not be so angry with me. And then I can turn around and do it again, and turn around and do it again. So I can spread aggressive expansion out, because aggressive expansion is what runs the risk of coalitions forming against you and attacking you. And Mr. Play, blocking that means that Ramazan can only take Isel from Karaman now. It keeps Ramazan small, so he can't get super big, so I still have a good chance of being able to force vassalize him. Or not force vassalize, but diplomatically vassalize him. Even if he takes Isel now. So that was a good question, though. Yeah, I took Kayseri and Karaman because I wanted to block Karaman's other territories off from being able to be eaten by Dulkadir, by Mamluks, because they connect by the water here, by Cyprus. I don't want anybody else to be able to take Karaman territory if I can help it, so I block them off as much as possible. Anyways, so that aggressive expansion, like I was saying, though, guys, that will slowly fall off. The base is 2 aggressive expansion per year, modified by other factors like your improved relations. If you have improved relations for one of your stats, improved relations lowers the aggressive expansion by a bit extra per whatever your improved relations status is. So the more improved relations you have, the better, because it lowers your aggressive expansion that much faster. Anyways, so yeah, so what we'd be doing and what you guys can do is just bounce back and forth, attack Christians and then turn around and attack Sunnis and then turn around and attack Christians, and keep just bouncing back and forth. Keep expanding your nation out and out and out, and eventually try to push up here, because Orthodox, once again, they're Christian, but Catholics don't really care if Orthodox people die, and vice versa. So you push your way up into this region, into the, across the Black Sea, eat up into the Russian steppes while you're also eating into the Sunnis. You eat down into the Sunnis while you then eat into the Shias, because nobody cares. So once again, eat Coptics and Shias, and nobody around them really cares. Ottomans have a lot of options of places to push into. And that's exactly how you just want to slowly push out your empire. Take whatever advantage you can. Take whatever chances are presented to you based on people fighting each other and going into wars. The next thing what we'd be doing here is attacking Byzantium to take that for our mission, City of World's Desire, and get our capital pushed there. Yeah, and that's just basically what you want to pay attention to. Pay attention to that coalition stuff. Pay attention to that coalition marker popping up when you're declaring peace deals. Don't be too greedy in your wars, and you won't have any issues, especially as the Ottomans. So that was a basic war and basic peace deal. Hope that was informative for you.